Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. It's Sunday afternoon and I'm doing some baking, and I wanted to share with you guys one of the home front stories during World War II with you guys, and one of my mom's recipes that sort of came out of that story through the years. And how it all began was my grandmother's brother had a health condition during World War II, and he actually had an enlarged heart, is what they told him at the time. And the doctors said, you can't stay in this machine climate, it's too cold, you'll have to move down south somewhere if you want to basically live. And they weren't sure what to do, but my grandmother's brother's wife, my great aunt, she had relatives down south, so they got in contact with their relatives down south, and they worked something out where they would help them get set up down south. And what ended up happening was they went back to the doctors and that were around here at the time that were treating my grandmother's brother, and he didn't have enough ration cards to get the fuel basically to drive across the country. And the doctor said, you know, don't worry about it, we're going to see if we can't help you out here. So the doctors basically got black market ration cards, so they got the fuel cards that they could give my grandmother's brother and my great aunt. They got them those ration cards so they could go down south. And what they ended up doing is they sold their livestock and stuff up here, and got as much money together as they could and took what they could with them, and they went down south, and they never came back. And it actually worked out really good for my grandmother's brother and their family, because he ended up living a long time after that, yet he didn't pass away until the 1970s. So they had a really good relationship. And my great aunt, she lived well into the 2000s. She was very, very old when she finally passed away. But one of the things that they did when they were down there in later years is they would always send big boxes of pecans. I'm probably saying that wrong for the Southerners in the audience, saying it like a Yankee, but they would send big boxes of pecans up here to my grandmother and my mother, and they would always use them to make their Sunday coffee cakes. When people would come over or they would go visiting, coffee cake was a huge thing that people would have in their houses to share with people when they came over and did their Sunday visiting after church and whatever. And this is my mom's favorite cookbook, and this is her favorite coffee cake recipe, and I'm going to read it to you guys. And they would put this coffee cake together with my great aunt's pecans that they would send up here from down south. And this is the filling and the topping: a half a cup of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and a half a cup of chopped nuts. And my mother would always double that because they would put half inside the coffee cake and then half on top, so it was always richer and more filling. And then the coffee cake batter was a cup and a half of sifted flour. It was 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of shortening, 1 egg, and milk. And then they got Sift together the dry ingredients, cut in the shortening, beat the egg well, and add to the milk. And then combine the liquid and dry ingredients, spread half of the batter in a greased flat pan, 8 by 8 inches or 6 by 10 inches, and then sprinkle with half of the filling. Add the other half of the batter and sprinkle remaining filling on top. Bake at 375 for 20 minutes and cut into squares. And that was the recipe that they would use. And then this is actually what they got written in the cookbook here: to Mildred, who was my mother, from Herman and Marie, June 14th, 1966. So this Mennonite cookbook here has been around for a long time. So I've mixed up those ingredients here. I've doubled the crumb recipe here with the pecans, and then I have the batter mixed in right here. And here's my 8x8 pan, and I'm going to put about half of this batter. Just spread this real lightly on the bottom of the pan, like so. We're going to get some of the, about half of the crumb topping on there. Spoonful. And get the other half of the batter on top of this. These coffee cakes of different varieties. Every farmhouse up here had a different variation of coffee cake. And I had them all when I was a kid growing up. Most of the time I would just eat the sugar crumb frosting off the top and leave the rest. But I've grown to love these old recipes and the old stories that are behind these recipes. Like I said, my grandmother's brother and great aunt moving down south during the war, you know, it just goes to show that problems still exist. Normal everyday problems still exist even during the wartime. So the home front kept going along even though the war was going on in Europe. And so that's about what that looks like. Get that kind of, some of this extra off here, my finger. And then we'll get the rest of the crumb on top. But to be invited over to somebody's house on a Sunday, or to go over to somebody's house on a Sunday evening or after church, that was just a hugely common thing back before all the modern conveniences that we got today. And that's what the coffee cake looks like. Now we are going to get this in the oven for about 25-30 minutes at 375 degrees, and when it's baked I'm going to show you guys what the finished product looks like. All right, guys, it's been about 35 minutes. I was messing around with the oven, and I put a loaf of bread in there to bake along with this, so it took a little bit longer for it to cook than what was written in the recipe. But 35 minutes, this is what it looks like right here. It's got a really good brown sugar, cinnamon, nutty type aroma to it. Smells really, really good. And this is what they would have had on their Sunday afternoons when they went visiting with coffee or tea. And just wanted to share this old family story with you guys about my relation going down south during the war, and then later in life sending all the good southern pecans back up here so we could, mom and grandma could use them to make their coffee cakes. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe and this little family story here. Just my version of visiting on a Sunday afternoon with you guys. Anyway, this is Modern Refugee. Appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got a little information and a little entertainment out of this video, and you guys have a good one.